Hey, yo, what's going on? It's your man Louie T here on the Week 15 LTN Exclusives kickback session. We're getting down to the final few weeks of the season. It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. I always enjoy competing against all of you, and that's about to come to an end once again. But a winner will be crowned for weekly, the Winners and Losers League. And you need your best right now, right? And we saw, Soul Survivor flamed out. No one won. And I'm currently in the process of dominating. As I told you already, I think I was very clear in my messaging last week when I said, I'm going to win the rest of the weekly pick'em pools. I don't see any way that I don't win the rest of these. No one's going to knock me off of the mantle from here on out because there's just not enough of you, right? So let's just get to the proceedings this evening. I won't talk your head off. Let's just get to it. So we start with the weekly pick'em pool. As I mentioned, I won again. What's new? 5 losses, points. Billy Bronco had 5 losses as well, but he didn't have the points. And look, he actually emailed me because he had 27 points, and that game at halftime was heading in that direction, right? I think it was 7-3 at halftime. So he was probably feeling really good about where he stood. And then the Steelers lost their minds and morphed into a real adult NFL offense and scored 4 touchdowns on 4 consecutive possessions. And then the Dolphins all of a sudden decided, well, shit, let me get into the party. And they started scoring touchdowns. And just like that, I think the number got up to 43. I think it ended up being 28-15. I think that final score ended up being. So I ended up winning via points at 40 points. So shout out to me. Yay. What is that now? 4 or 5 this season? I lost count. Okay. This is going to be a regular occurrence. I expect to win next week. And the week after that and the week after that to finish up this thing. So what my goal is now is to set a career high for the most wins in the weekly pick'em pool in a single season for myself and for anyone of that matter. Because I think my guy, shucks, I forget his name. It'll come to me. He won 4 in one season. I think I've won 4 in a season too. So we might be tied for the record. I want to set a new one. I got 4 already this season. So I not only want to set the record because I'm going to do that. I want to set it where no one's going to break it. That's what I'm heading towards. So took another win in the left-hand column away for the kid. And like I said, say good night to the bad guy because you'll never see another bad guy like this again in the weekly pick'em pool. Moving right along to more pressing matters. And that is the Winners and Losers League, which is really heating up at this point. Go with 50%. So this is my favorite type of breakdown where there's not a lot of color. One person got the piss cup, not 8. One person had the best record and was the PTPer this week, not 5. And you don't have 6 people tied for second or third, just one person in second. 2 people in second, excuse me, or 2 people in third, I believe. 2 people in third. Let me change this color real quick. 2 people in third. One person in second. I can deal with a tie for third or tie for second or something like that. But this is what I like. I like this amount of color. Not all that extra added bullshit. Filler is what I call it. So we're back to now in week 15, all 16 games on the slate from here on out. So you have even more chances to come back now, right? You could be down 4 games right now and you go 14-2 and the person that you're chasing goes 10-6. And just like that, you've made up 4 games. Like this shit is not over. Just so we're clear. Like, this thing is not over. For someone like myself, it is. But if you're hanging around, you're 5 or 6 games back. This thing is far from over. Case in point, Bam Bam Bree, right? He's not winning anything this year. But he was our PTPer this week. Phenomenal week. 14-2. Just like that. Now, the leader in the clubhouse, Ricky D. Hustle, in comparison, 10-6. Now, if Bam Bam Bree was hovering around, was back 7 games, he would have just cut that 7-game deficit down to 3 in 1 week. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this shit is not over. Ricky D. Hustle has had, I've seen guys have a stranglehold on the winners and losers all year long and then blow it at the end because now there's 16 games. It's not 13 anymore. It's not 12 where it's hard to make up a deficit. It's 16. Ricky D goes 11-5 and you go 15-1. That's 4 games. Ricky D goes 11-5. You go 12-4. That's 3 games you've just made up. It's hard to make up that kind of ground in such a short period of time, but it's possible now that you're at the end of the season, and you got to be paying attention. What teams have called it quits? What teams are playing hard? What teams can grab the upset? Air quotes upset, because Kansas City is playing Tennessee this week. If the Titans win, is that really truly an upset with no Mahomes on the road? Maybe. It wouldn't be to me. So you just got to be on the right one. You got to be on the right side of that. So I said all of that to say this shit is not over. Far from it. And I see some people hovering around that are right in the mix with 1 or 2 really strong weeks, could easily overtake Ricky D. Hustle and Mike Lowry and Kevin the PRF and all of these dudes. So no one's safe. That's for sure. I'm on my current tour of trying to pass up people that I have an imaginary rivalry with that they don't even know. You know how you're in your car and you look over and, like Dave Chappelle said, I'm going to race them. I used to do this as a kid. I'd look over at the car next to us and we'd be in a secret race. They didn't know we were racing. But when that light turned green and my dad took off, we better beat him. I don't do that as an adult. But there are certain people that they have no idea that we're in a secret rivalry. But we are. You are my rival, and I intend on beating you. And right now, I'm hot, and they're not. I'm feeling good about myself. I got to keep it up, though. So let's get to the proceedings this evening of what went down this week. Let's start out with Bam Bam Bree, who I just mentioned, 14-2. My goodness, what a week. This was not an easy week to go 14-2, right? Quite the contrary, actually. 6 losses was probably the going rate this week. If you should have been double digits in terms of wins. You should have had 10-6. Anything lower than 10-6, you went a bit too far, right? You stepped out of bounds somewhere along the way. You did it a little bit too much. But there were enough, like the Tampa Bay game right out of the gates, just about, zapped everybody. Kansas City, I think a lot of people were still like, okay, Kansas City, this is their last hurrah. I know I got caught up in that. New England, Buffalo, that could, same with Baltimore, Cincinnati, coin flip. Could go either way. You could easily have ended up on the wrong side of that. The Giants, Commanders, another coin flip game. You could have easily ended up on the wrong side of that. The Saints, I shouldn't say no one. Most people did not think they were going to sweep the Panthers, but they did. Green Bay, Denver, coin flip game. A lot of people think Denver are frauds, and they thought they were going to lose this game. And Denver said, okay, you think we're frauds? We'll do it again. And they won. And then Dallas, that's the one that really shocked me of all the losses this week. Is I did not see Dallas losing to Minnesota. And so, just like that, you could easily have 6, 7, 8 losses even. To go 14-2 is extraordinary. There are a lot of minds in this field here, right? And somehow you were able to navigate your way through this very tricky field of minds and only step on 2. That's crazy. Shout out to Bam Bam Bree for going 14-2 and being the PT peer of week number 15. Quite impressive, I may add. 14-2. Now let's get to our Piss Cup recipient, Just Vaughn. You guys should be thanking Just Vaughn for being just pissy. Okay? Because had Just Vaughn not been just pissy, a lot of y'all would have been Piss Cup recipients with 8 losses. Just Vaughn bailed a number of y'all out, so y'all should be thanking Just Vaughn. If you want, I can get Just Vaughn's information for you, and you can send Just Vaughn a Christmas card. Because some of you, like Derek B, for instance, I love shitting on Derek B. He was way too happy when I got the Piss Cup. He had the Piss Cup last week, and Derek B was thirsting for the Piss Cup again this week. That man said, hey, the piss was so good last week. It was so nice. I want to run it back and do it twice. He had 8 losses this week to Derek B. He wanted the Piss Cup. Bad. Just Vaughn was like, nah, I got it. I'll take the bullet for everybody. I'll drink the piss on your behalf. You're welcome. Season's greetings. Happy holidays to all of you. You guys should really send Just Vaughn a Christmas card, because there were about 6, 7, maybe upwards of 8 of y'all that had 8 losses this week that would have been sipping piss. And Just Vaughn said, I got it. Don't worry about it. So Just Vaughn, come on up. Just Vaughn is turned into Just Piss for week 15. Here you go. You can go over there and take care of that goblet of piss. And you were this close to the Piss Cup Ultra, which would have been really bad, but you avoided it by going 7-9 below the Mendoza line. Never good at all. And I can tell you, like I said, sometimes you go too far, right? If you finished less than 10 wins, you went too far. For Just Vaughn, Jets, you went too far. Browns, you went too far. Dolphins, you went too far. That's how they went from 10-6 to 7-9. They went too far, right? It happens, but you got to know when to say when, right? Let's get to our top 3 in the standings, and we'll start with our leader in the clubhouse, Ricky D. Hustle. Ricky D continuing to stay atop the leaderboard right now, 10-6 in week number 15. Keeps him atop the leaderboard at 155, 68-1. And because second place finished with the same mark in week 15, Ricky D still keeps a 3-game cushion from second place. So shout out to Ricky D Hustle. I'm going to be honest with you. Ricky D is the biggest surprise of this season. I did not see this coming. And the thing I love about Ricky D is he never, ever changed his pick strategy. He's been aggressive this entire time. He's been picking the Commanders even when no one thought they would win. And it's been costing them games here and there. But, he picked them again this week. He picked them last week. He picked them against Denver and almost won. And that would have been a big one. That one would have been huge if they would have beat Denver. He picked New Orleans. Like, he's not shying away, right? He's not backing off. He's been doing this all season. It's why he's in first place. And when you get in the first place, you can start to become a bit hesitant to pull the trigger on upsets and things that you believe in, because now you're playing it safe. And that's not what got him to this position. I got to commend Ricky D, man. He's been playing for years, and usually this shit gets him in trouble. It hasn't gotten him in trouble this year. Quite the contrary, as I've mentioned already. And and he's remained aggressive, and it's kept him the leader in the clubhouse. Shout out to my guy, Ricky D. Hustle, for going 10-6 and remaining 3 games up on second place, which is being currently held by Kevin, the PRF, who also went 10-6 this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, keeping him 3 games at bay behind Ricky D. Hustle at 152, 71, and 1. So Kevin, the PRF, who was tied for second place last week. Let's get Energy Mac and Cheese some color here. Who was tied with Mike Lowry last week for second place, has now separated himself from Mike Lowry and gained sole possession of second place. So while he remains just 3 games back of the leader, Kevin, the PRF, Ricky D. Hustle, he is now all by his lonesome in second place, just 3 games back of the leader, Ricky D. Hustle. Mike Lowry, who was tied for second place last week with Kevin, the PRF, just 3 games back, had a rough go of it in week number 15, going 8-8. One of those people that I talked about that would have been sipping from the piss cup had Just Vaughn not turned into Just Piss this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8-8 dropped him 2 games back of second place. Still good for third, in which he is now in a 2-way tie for third, but now 5 games back of the leader in the clubhouse, Ricky D. Hustle, with his 8-8 record in week 15. So a bit of a stumble there for Mike Lowry. This is not the time for it. This is not the time for it. As you know, 1775 is on the line. This is not the time for the stumbling. You got to have your best when your best is required. And now we are in the final stretch of the season. Your best is required. Speaking of the best, Energy Mac and Cheese put forth his best this week, and it really benefited him. 13-3. And this is what I'm talking about, right? So Energy Mac and Cheese wasn't really in your rear view mirror. You weren't checking for him. And then 13-3, he just makes up 3 games from the leader in the clubhouse, and then 5 games from a guy like, Mike Lowry. And all of a sudden, he's tied with Mike Lowry. 5 games. He was back 5 games behind Mike Lowry last week. He goes 13-3. Mike Lowry goes 8-8, and boom, just like that, he's tied for third place at 150, 73, and 1. Do you see how quick shit can change now that there's 16 games on the slate? Like, you're not out of it if you're hanging around. And Energy Mac and Cheese, hanging around. Hanging around. Made up 3 games on the leader, 5 games on second place, and now he's in third place. So he made up 3 games on Kevin the PRF, who was also in second place. Another week like that from Mac and Cheese, and he'll be in second place. He'll be in second place. So you see what I'm saying? Like, you can make up some ground very quickly now that there's 16 games. Anyway, shout out to everyone who had a strong week. Shout out to Bam Bam Bree for being our PT peer, primetime prognosticator. Shout out to Energy Mac and Cheese for a 13-3 week, thrusting him into third place and catapulting him into a tie for the top 3 in the standings. And shout out to Ricky D. Hustle and Kevin the PRF for standing their ground respectively in first and second place. But nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. So things are getting really, really interesting. I will say that for sure. Let's go ahead now and get a word from our sponsor. Come back on the other side, see if there are any comments. If not, we'll get out of here. Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips, play in fantasy leagues, and win real money on pick contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right, so let's do a quick check on Just Vaughn, a.k.a. Just Piss. Okay, that's decent. Halfway through. Keep going. You're doing well for a first-timer. I think that was Just Vaughn's first time sipping from the cup of piss this year. Could be wrong. Could be Just Vaughn's second time. Feels like Just Vaughn's first. And not bad. Not bad at all. Anyway, I digress. Let's just get to the comment section real quick. See what you guys have to say. Jags Broncos. Sheree asks, is this the second best game of the week? It's a really good one. Let's see. I think a lot of people are intrigued by Phillip Rivers and the 49ers on Monday Night Football. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, 49ers. I think that one's going to gain and garner a lot more interest than we would have originally thought. Ravens and Patriots on Sunday night, I think, is at the top of the pile. If I'm just Seahawks and Rams. So I think those two games are better than Jags Broncos. Seahawks and Rams, that's basically for first place in the division on Thursday Night Football. And then I think there's so many ramifications of Patriots Ravens from a playoff perspective. Not that there isn't in Broncos and Jags, but I think those are the top two games in the week. I think Jags Broncos probably slides in at third. I don't think I'm missing any other games that are of importance. I think those are the two that I would put ahead of it. And then I think that one will be the third game. Any mismatches for either Denver or Jacksonville that could decide the game? No, not really. I can just tell you Jacksonville has been one of the best teams at creating turnovers this season. I know Denver, isn't afraid of giving it away. And Denver doesn't really create a ton of turnovers themselves. So that's something to keep an eye on. Trevor Lawrence is playing much better football now. I just love what Liam Cohen, has done, whether it was in Tampa for Baker or for the running game in Tampa or for, Trevor Lawrence, and now what he's doing for Travis Etienne there in Jacksonville. They're running the football more effectively. That was a huge trade, going and getting Jacoby Myers. That really opened things up for them. So the key is going to be getting to Trevor Lawrence, right? You have one of the better pass rushers in football. If you can get to Lawrence, you can still force him to do crazy things with the football. But if he got time, it could get really interesting. It could be really interesting. I don't think there's any clear mismatches either way, other than Jacksonville forces turnovers. You have to take care of the football. Kevin, the PRF says, what a lousy 3 weeks. Entering risky pick territory so Ricky D. Hustle doesn't run away and hide. And the crazy part is Ricky D, again, he hasn't altered the way he's made picks. That's the beauty of what he's done. He's doing it his way. And more, much more than this, he did it his way. He's doing it his way right now. Like, again, I just showed you he picked New Orleans. He picked Washington. Those teams weren't favored in their games on Sunday. Those easily could have turned into losses. He could have been 8-8 this week, and all of a sudden you're breathing down his neck one game back, and Energy Mac and Cheese would have gained 2 more games on him, and we could have been having a totally different conversation. But he did pick New Orleans. He did pick Washington. And he's not afraid to go and pick those teams. So I got to commend him. And now it sounds like you're altering what you do, and you shouldn't. That's what got you to first place earlier in the season and has kept you afloat, is you being who you are. And now it sounds like you're altering what you're doing, you're not down 7 games with 2 weeks to go. But again, I'm not in this. My name is Bennett and I ain't in it. So Loser said Packers Bears. That's another good one. Yeah, that's on Saturday. I forgot about the Saturday games. That's right. Packers Bears is huge. No. Is it Packers Bears? Really? You sure? Yeah. No. We got Packers Bears 2 weeks ago, and then they were playing twice in 3 weeks. So yes, we're getting Packers Bears on Saturday. Steelers Lions is a big one. I don't think it's better than Jags and Broncos, but that's a big one as well. But yeah, I'd stick Bears Packers ahead of with no Michael Parsons though. Whew, the Packers are in trouble. But I'd stick that game in front of Jacksonville and Denver too. So that knocks it down to the 4th best game of the weekend. Thank you for that, Loser. J. Camman says, I'm 9 games back. I don't think I'm winning this year. I don't think you're winning either, but like 9 is pretty significant. You'd have to have a lot go well for you and a lot go wrong for the people ahead of you to come back and win. So 9 is a bit tough, but it's not impossible. As I just mentioned, Ricky D is out here taking risk, right? Like, again, he could have easily went 8-8. The Saints almost lost the game. The Commanders could have easily lost to the Giants, but they didn't. Both of those teams won. He goes 10-6. So, you're not out of it, but 9 games back at this juncture is pretty tough to overcome. But I was talking more along the lines of somebody 6 games or 5 games back. You can make up 3 games, like that in a 16-game slate. But 9 games back, you're going to need to make up 4 or 5 in a week. And not only are you going to have to do that, you're going to need the 3 people in front of you, right? There's 4, specifically, but there are probably others. If you're 9 games back, there are other people that are, 7 games back, 8 games back, 6 games back, that you got to pass them too and hope that they don't have really good weeks. So just a lot that you need to get done, right? Says, came in 4th place a few years ago, where if I'd picked the Cowboys and not the Giants, I would have won 3-way tie that year. Oh, yeah. I remember that year. That was crazy. Yeah, I don't see it being a tie this year. Someone's going to win. Someone's going to win outright this year. But it's tough. Like, a lot of people think, oh, I'm not picking against the spread. This should be easy. And then you come in here and get your ass kicked. It's a lot tougher than you think. Because even when you think, man, I did well this week, somebody did better. and it's the consistency of it all. Like, my problem isn't the end of the season. I'm usually great at the end. My problem is the beginning of the season. I get off to these slow starts and I look up and I'm 7-8 games back and like, damn, now I've dug myself this hole. And I remember 2 years ago, I dug myself this tremendous hole. It was 3 years ago because my dad won that year. I dug myself this tremendous hole. I was down 12 games and like week 13, I was down 12 games. And I rallied all the way back. No, it was like week 10. I was down like 12 games in week 10. And I rallied all the way back to tie it. I think I was down 1. I rallied all the way back to trailing my dad by 1 game in by week 16. And then I fell apart week 16, 17, and 18. And he ended up, finishing the deal. But it's tough when you don't start fast. You put yourself in a tough spot. J. Camman asks, what's the future of both Miami and Tua? Burrow to the Dolphins? Just kidding. Burrow isn't getting traded. They've built their team around Joe Burrow. They gave Joe Burrow everything he asked for. Joe Burrow is the reason that they signed T. Higgins. They weren't going to sign T. Higgins. Joe Burrow basically said, I want T. Higgins here. You need to make it happen. So they're not moving on from Joe Burrow. You know, he gives Cincinnati relevancy. If you don't have Joe Burrow, Cincinnati goes back to being the Bungles again. But I talked about this on Monday Night Overtime, right? Monday Night Football Overtime. The Dolphins have to do something with Tua. Like, we literally spent half of that episode just talking about Tua because he was so bad on Monday. But this is who Tua is, and he's been. Which is why I was like, these quarterbacks, it's so funny because Daniel Jones did the same thing in New York. The year that he was up for a contract, he played his best year, and he got the contract extension from the Giants. And it was like they were tied, their hands were tied behind their back because he won a playoff game. You're not going to just move on from him after that. But he was never good again after that. Tua was really good the year that his contract was up. They had to do something. They extended him. They went to the playoffs. They didn't win a playoff game, but they went to the playoffs, and he played really well that year. But we all knew that Tua had limitations, and he had issues with concussions. And I'm just like, I wouldn't invest in Tua if I were you. This is not a smart investment. He's bottlenecking your football team. You could see it then. They still, because what's the alternative, right? That's the part about the NFL. What's the alternative? Either you have a quarterback or you don't. And the teams that don't, you end up being the Cleveland Browns every year. You end up being the Jets every year. You have no shot. At least Tua, being a marginal, quarterback at best, right? But at least Tua being a quarterback that can be the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th best quarterback in the league, at least he gives you a chance to make the playoffs, a chance to fight. You got no quarterback, you got no shot. And so the alternative is death if you don't sign Tua, because now you're looking for a guy. And that's a tough place to be. You never want to be with your hands tied behind your back and, like the 49ers with Brock Purdy. Like, and Brock Purdy's way better than Tua Tagovailoa. But you could do so much better than Brock Purdy. But again, beats the alternative, right? Beats the alternative. So you do it. I'm just glad to see Mike McDaniel, make the decision to bench him, because you can't win if your quarterback's going to play that way. He gives you no shot. None. And I said this after the show. I said, you need to find out what Quinn Ewers can do. I don't think he can do much of anything, but you're going to end up with an opportunity to draft a quarterback this year. It may not be one of the better quarterbacks. And even if you're not in a position that you love any of the quarterbacks, fine. You can wait till next year. Next year is going to be supposed to be a much better draft class where we could see 5 or 6 go in the first round. The Dolphins, more likely than not, will be in a position to draft a quarterback next year, because if Tua or Quinn Ewers is your quarterback, you're probably going to be in the same spot that you are in right now next year. So, but you need to find out what Quinn Ewers can do, because we know what Tua is and we know what he ain't. And I'm glad he actually had I saw the number. Remember, I kept saying on Monday Night Football Overtime, I don't know what the ramifications are for getting out of a Tua deal. No one's going to trade for Tua, so you can't get from under the contract via trade. And outright releasing him, I don't know the numbers. A lot of times it's pain to do that. Tua's a good guy. You don't have to just get him off your roster. I saw something like $99 million they would have to suffer if they tried to cut him, which that makes no sense. He's bad. He's not that bad where he's a malcontent, a cancer in your locker room, and you have to get him off your team. You just suffer with him on the roster, right? It's not worth it to take a $99 million cap hit, right? Or, dead cap. Like, that's stupid. Anyway, I digress. Just Vaughn. Just pissed, my guy. Good job. All right. I figured you would take care of business there. You were doing a really good job when I first checked on you. So that is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Week 15 edition of the LTN Exclusives kickback session. Look forward to doing this again with you next week after Week 16 has met its conclusions. Met its conclusion. Make sure you get your picks in on time. Shout out to everybody that's playing in the weekly pick'em pool. Really appreciate y'all for hanging in there and keeping that thing live. I intend on winning again this week. Somebody stop me. I don't see anybody being able to do so. So I'm going to make it 3 in a row. I haven't won 3 in a row in a long time. I think you got to go back maybe 4 or 5 years since I've won 3 in a row. I've only done it once. I plan on finishing out this season winning what? What do we got? 3 weeks left, right? 5 in a row. 16, 17, 18. Yeah. I plan on making it 5 in a row. No one's going to touch that. No one's ever won 4 in a row. I've done 3 in a row. So I have the record for that. No one's going to surpass me this year. If I set the record at 4 or 5, I got this thing on lock. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Get your picks in on time and enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you guys next time. Sheets are up and available. Get them in on time. Peace. And remember, if your picks are shit, you get pissed. Say goodbye to the bad guy.